October 2024, Tillamook, Oregon, trembles under a storm's wrath as 6-year-old Ava Mitchell lies still in the ER, her chestnut curls stark against blood-streaked sheets, monitors screaming life. Beyond the glass, Titan, a German shepherd with amber eyes like wildfire, barks raw and relentless, ribs sharp, fur matted, a scarred ex-hero branded lost after a 300-mile trek. He saved her, her dad roars, grease-stained hands shaking, as a guard yanks Titan's collar. She tipped, alone in the rain, he found her. Ava's mom drops beside him, clutching fur she once banned. Sobbing, he stays, or we all go. The dog stiffens, shielding the door, teeth bared but silent, a soldier reborn. In one pulse-pounding breath, a little girl's fight and a broken shepherd's heart collide. Igniting a war to redefine courage in a coastal town that forgot its own. Please hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's dive into the story together. October 2024 crashed into Tillamook, Oregon, like a tempest breaching the cliffs, the Pacific's gray fury hurling salt and spray through the town's pine-shadowed streets. Rain pounded the weathered shingles of the Mitchell's bungalow. A single-story outpost clinging to the edge of this fishing hamlet of 5,000 souls, its docks slick with the day's haul and its air thick with the tang of kelp and diesel. Inside, the fluorescent buzz of Tillamook General Hospital's emergency room cast harsh, jagged shadows across 6-year-old Ava Mitchell's pale face as she lay motionless on a stretcher. Her chestnut curls fanning out like a fragile crown against the stark white sheets. The relentless beep of monitors sliced through the chaos, doctors barking orders, carts clattering, while beyond the trauma bay's glass doors, a German shepherd named Titan unleashed a deep, primal bark that reverberated down the sterile halls. His amber eyes burned through the haze of panic, fixed on Ava, his massive frame quaking with a desperation that defied the security guard's meaty grip on his collar. "Sir, you need to get that dog out, now," the guard snapped, his voice taut with command, rain dripping from his cap onto the linoleum. Mike Mitchell, Ava's father, stood rooted. His grease-stained hands clenched into fists, his hazel eyes wild with a terror that clawed at his chest. "He saved her life," Mike rasped, his voice cracking like a hull against rocks. "If Titan hadn't found her when she tipped over in that damn storm." Sarah Mitchell stumbled from the trauma room, her dark hair a sodden tangle, tears carving raw tracks down her face as she dropped to her knees beside Titan. Her hands sank into his thick, black and tan fur, the same fur she'd once vowed would never shed across her floors, and she clutched him like a lifeline. "He stays," she declared. Her tone forged in steel despite the sobs racking her frame. "Titan's the reason she's still breathing." The dog pressed closer, a low whine escaping his throat, his muzzle nudging her as if he understood every jagged edge of her words. His gaze never straying from the glass that separated him from Ava. Through the trauma bay's small window, doctors swarmed her tiny form, machines towering over her, a sight that ripped Sarah back 3 months. To a rain-lashed night when Mike dragged them to the Tillamook Animal Haven, shrugging off every warning about that dangerous shepherd nobody dared claim. Now, under the ER's cold, unblinking glare, their story, of love, prejudice, sacrifice, and a dog's ironclad loyalty, split open like a fault line, poised to shatter everything Tillamook thought it knew about strength, disability, and the bonds that defy the tide. 3 months earlier, Ava sat by the cracked living room window of their storm-battered bungalow, her wheelchair creaking as she traced raindrops on the glass with shaky, resolute fingers. At 6, her gray eyes held a quiet wildfire, tempered by years of hospital wards instead of playground swings. Born premature with spinal muscular atrophy, her legs were a silent mutiny against her spirit. But her will blazed, undaunted, fierce, a beacon in the tempest of her condition. "Dad, why's Mrs. Carter always yank Joey inside when I roll out to the porch?" she asked, her voice a soft thread woven through the drizzle's steady drum. Mike looked up from a crumbling stack of overdue bills on the kitchen table: electricity, mortgage, Ava's meds, his broad shoulders slumping under the weight of her question. At 40, his hands told a mechanic saga, calloused and scarred from wrenching engines at coastal repairs, perpetually shadowed with grease that clung like a second skin. His face bore lines deeper than his years, carved by the grind of keeping their family afloat on wages stretched thin as fishing twine, his hazel eyes clouded with a fatigue that sleep couldn't touch. "Some folks don't see how special you are, kiddo," he said, kneeling beside her chair, his voice rough but tender as he brushed a curl from her forehead. "That's their loss, not yours, never yours." In the kitchen, Sarah sorted Ava's medications with the precision of a battlefield surgeon, her past as an ER/RN at Tillamook General traded 5 years ago for the ceaseless vigil of full-time caregiving. At 36, her sharp blue eyes dulled with exhaustion, her dark hair yanked back into a practical ponytail that swung like a metronome as she measured doses, muscle relaxants, painkillers, supplements to keep Ava's fragile frame fighting. "Time for your afternoon pills, Ava," she called, forcing a smile over the dread that gnawed at her daily, each vial a reminder of battles won and wars still looming. Their home teetered on the town's outskirts, its gray clapboard walls patched with ramps bolted to the porch and doorways widened with salvaged lumber, every adaptation clawed from Mike's paycheck or Sarah's old nursing gear sold online to junkers and collectors. Ava's crayon drawings, whales breaching storm-tossed waves, night slaying shadowed dragons, splashed defiant color across peeling paint, a testament to her spirit against the tide of their struggles. The neighbors, the Carters and Lanes, had started warm years back, dropping off casseroles and nods of support when Ava came home from the NICU, swaddled and frail. But warmth cooled to pity. Then distance, playdates evaporated, birthday invites vanished, and isolation crept in like the fog rolling off Tillamook Bay, thick, cold, and suffocating. Ava fought it with a resilience that left her parents breathless. Her small face tightened as she stretched her arms during daily exercises, clutching a marker a second longer each day, her triumphs measured in breaths and inches against a body that refused to obey. "Look, Mom," she'd beam, holding it aloft, her victory a quiet blade to Sarah's heart. Other kids sprinted through puddles while Ava battled for scraps of movement, her wheelchair a throne she ruled with grace. Mike and Sarah traded glances across the room, pride warring with grief over milestones other families breezed past, first steps swapped for first grips, races for reaches. They were a fortress of three. Love their mortar against a world that too often averted its eyes, but the cracks were widening, medical bills piling like driftwood after a storm, loneliness gnawing at Ava's light. The endless fight for her care draining their reserves dry. Tillamook thrived on its salt-crusted docks and tourist traps, crab shacks, cheese factories, but its tight-knit threads frayed around the Mitchells. At Bayside Elementary, Ava's twice-weekly special ed classes drew stares from kids and awkward silences from parents. At the First Methodist Church, prayers came with sidelong glances over hymnals. "Poor thing," they'd murmur at the Nettets market, loud enough to sting, pity sharper than scorn, a lash that cut deeper with every repetition. Dr. Ellis, Ava's pediatrician, warned during her last checkup. His voice grave over his stethoscope, "She needs more than meds, friends, a spark, something to pull her out of this shell, or she'll fade." They clung to each other, a lifeline in the fog. But something had to give, they were drowning slow, the tide pulling them under. That spark flared one stormy Tuesday night over a dinner of fish sticks and mashed peas, the TV flickering with a muted rerun of a Seahawks game. Rain lashing the roof like a war drum. Mike watched Ava poke listlessly at her plate, her gray eyes dim with another day spent peering out at kids dodging rain she couldn't chase. Their laughter a distant echo through the glass. The power flickered, casting shadows that danced across the walls, and he set his fork down with a clink that broke the silence. "Sarah," he said, his deep voice cutting through the quiet like a foghorn, "I've been thinking, a dog. For Ava. Sarah froze, her fork halfway to her mouth, blue eyes narrowing in a storm of shock and dread that mirrored the weather outside. A dog? Mike, we're barely keeping the lights on. Her new chair cushion got denied again, insurance laughed at us, and you're talking about a pet? Her voice trembled with the weight of their burdens. The memory of Ava's last hospital stint flashing raw, tubes snaking from her arms, the ventilator's mechanical hiss, nights spent on a cot begging for one more day. Ava's face lit up like a flare in the dark. A rare supernova breaking through her gloom, her small hands clapping despite their tremor. A puppy, Dad? Really? Mike grinned, softer, his hazel eyes catching hers across the table. Not a puppy, kiddo, an older dog, trained to help kids like you. I saw it driving home from the shop, therapy dogs at the Haven. One look through that window, and I knew it was right. Sarah's jaw tightened, her nurse's mind racing through a checklist of disasters, cost, mess, risk, the chaos of fur in a house already teetering on collapse. Mike, we're stretched to breaking, food. Vet bills, what if it knocks her chair? Hurts her? Her voice cracked, raw with the fear that lived in her bones, the endless tally of what-ifs that kept her awake when the house went dark. Mike leaned forward, fierce but steady, his grease-stained hand resting on the table like an anchor. She needs more than us, Sarah, a buddy, not just parents hovering with pills and worry. Someone who sees her first, not the damn chair, not the tubes. Ava's small hands gripped her fork, her plea piercing the tension like a gull's cry over the waves. Please, Mom, I'd love it so much. I'd feed it, brush it, everything, I promise. Sarah ran a hand through her hair, a gesture of frustration they all knew too well, her resolve buckling under Ava's hope, that rare, fragile light she'd trade her last breath to protect. We'll visit, she said finally, voice quiet but firm, raising a hand as Ava's grin erupted into a squeal. Just to look, no promises. Hear me? And if we do this, it's got to be trained, evaluated, safe as a bunker. We can't gamble with her, not ever. Mike squeezed her shoulder, a silent thanks, his own hope flickering like a candle in the wind. That's all I'm asking, a chance to see. That night, after Ava drifted off with her blanket pulled tight, dreaming of fur and wagging tails instead of needles, Mike and Sarah sank onto their threadbare couch. The rain a steady roar outside. The air smelled of damp wood and salt, the open window letting in the coast's breath, a faint tang of fish from the docks below. Are we nuts for even thinking this? Sarah whispered. Leaning into his warmth, her voice a mix of fear and longing that trembled against the storm's howl. Mike wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close, his mechanic's hands steady despite the tremor in his chest. The weight of his own doubts pressing hard. Maybe, he admitted, staring at the water-stained ceiling, his mind replaying Ava's dimming light. But sometimes nuts is what we need to keep her with us. She's fading, Sarah, watching life slip by through that damn window. A dog could pull her back, give her something we can't, no matter how hard we try. Sarah closed her eyes, letting herself imagine it, Ava laughing, not just surviving, her gray eyes bright with something beyond endurance. I'm scared, she confessed, barely audible over the wind. We've got so much to lose if this flops, her safety, our last dime. Mike's voice softened, a fisherman's promise against the tide, rough but sure. And everything to gain if it works. Sometimes you gotta trust the unexpected, let it carry you when you can't row anymore. The next Saturday dawned gray and dripping, the Tillamook Animal Haven looming through the mist like a beacon on the edge of Highway 101. Its brick walls painted with faded pawprints and leaping cats, a mural chipped by years of coastal gales. Ava, bundled in a purple raincoat that clashed with her wheelchair's silver frame, vibrated with excitement as Mike navigated the slick ramp, his boots scuffing the wet concrete. Sarah trailed behind, arms crossed tight against her chest, her nurse's instincts on high alert. Every bark from within a potential threat to Tally. Lisa Grant, the shelter's director, greeted them at the door, a wiry woman in her 50s with gray streaks threading her braid and eyes warm as a hearth behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Welcome to the Haven," she said, kneeling by Ava with a smile that crinkled her weathered face. "Looking for a special friend, huh?" Ava nodded shyly, fingers twisting the hem of her coat. Her voice small but eager. "Dad says maybe a dog who can help me, like a helper." Lisa stood, brushing rain from her jacket, and led them through the kennels, barks and yips bouncing off concrete walls. Each cage a story begging for an ending, pups tumbling over each other, old mutts with gray muzzles watching weary. Sarah's grip on Ava's chair tightened, her breath shallow. Too many risks. Too many what-ifs, her mind screaming retreat. At the last kennel, Lisa paused, her hand resting on the latch. "This is Titan, he's different from the rest, a survivor with a purpose." The German Shepherd rose slow, his coat a rich tapestry of black and tan, his frame lean but powerful despite a hollowed look that spoke of hunger survived. His amber eyes locked onto Ava. Piercing through the dim light, steady and deep, and he stepped forward, sitting with a dignity that hushed the room, a king reclaiming his court. "Found him 3 months back," Lisa said, her voice dropping low for Mike and Sarah's ears, a conspiratorial edge cutting through the clamor. "Half-starved on the highway shoulder, pads bloody, ribs like a washboard. Paperwork said his owner died, but I'd bet my last dollar he was dumped. His training, though? Like nothing I've seen, commands baked into him, gentle as a lamb with the right soul." Ava wheeled closer, fearless, her gray eyes meeting his in a silent pact that stopped Mike's breath. "Hi, Titan, I'm Ava," she whispered, her voice a thread of trust, and he extended a paw through the bars. Resting it gentle on her armrest, a night pledging fealty. Sarah gasped soft, a sound caught between awe and alarm. Mike's hand found hers and squeezed, and Lisa grinned wide, her eyes glinting. "Want to meet him proper? We've got a room, let's see what he says." In the meet and greet room, walls painted soft greens and blues, a worn couch sagging against one side. Cushions scattered on the floor, Titan strode in behind Lisa, his movements deliberate, and aligned himself beside Ava's chair without a word. His body pressed steady against her wheel. A living brace, and when she dropped a toy ball from her lap, he retrieved it with jaws so gentle they barely dented the rubber, placing it back with a nudge of his nose. "He's already hers," Mike murmured, his throat tight with something raw, hope, maybe, or relief, and Sarah nodded slow, her fear yielding to a flicker of possibility, her nurse's wall cracking under the weight of Ava's smile. "He's careful," she whispered, watching Titan sit statue still as Ava patted his head, her small hand trembling but sure. Lisa leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, her voice soft but certain. "He's been waiting for someone," he picked her the second she rolled in. Outside, the rain hammered on, waves chewing the shore, but inside, a spark flared, Titan and Ava, a bond born in the storm. A promise neither tide nor doubt could break. November 2024 gripped Tillamook, Oregon, in a relentless, sodden fist, the Pacific's gray roar a constant heartbeat beyond the cliffs as rain lashed the town's salt-bleached edges, turning dirt lanes to rivers and rooftops to drums. Inside the Mitchell's bungalow, Ava Mitchell giggled by the fireplace, her wheelchair parked on a faded rug patched with duct tape. Her chestnut curls catching the glow as she tossed a tennis ball across the room. Titan, the German Shepherd they'd hauled home from the Tillamook Animal Haven 3 months back, bounded after it with a grace that belied his size, his black and tan coat gleaming under the reluctant strokes of Sarah's brush, his amber eyes tracking Ava's every twitch with a focus that bordered on preternatural. At 6, Ava's gray eyes sparked with a joy that had been a rare visitor before Titan, her small hands clapping as he dropped the ball at her feet, his massive frame steady as granite when she gripped his back to shift in her chair. her wheelchair creaking under the adjustment. Mike Mitchell sprawled on the couch, grease still caked under his nails from coastal repairs, a rare grin cracking the exhaustion etched into his 40-year-old face. Lines softened by the firelight. "He's her shadow," he muttered to Sarah, who stood at the kitchen counter sorting Ava's meds, vials clinking like shells on the shore, her nurse's hand steady but her brow creased with a tension that clung like the damp seeping through the walls. "He's helping, more than I figured," she admitted, her voice a soft thread over the crackle of logs, though doubt lingered like the storm's echo, a shadow she couldn't shake. Titan wasn't just any rescue, he was a survivor with a past etched into his bones. 3 months ago, Lisa Grant had ushered them to his kennel at the Haven, her voice cutting through the shelter's clamor of yips and whines. "He's special, trained, gentle, a fighter. Found him half dead on Highway 101, pads torn bloody, ribs poking through. Said his owner passed, but I'd wager he was abandoned, left to rot." Titan had locked eyes with Ava that day, his paw outstretched through the bars, and she'd wheeled closer, fearless, whispering her name like a secret shared with the wind. He'd sat calm as a sentinel, his amber gaze piercing through her, like he'd trudged through hell to find her. Lisa hinted at scars, neglect, loss, but his bond with Ava flared instant. Electric, a lifeline neither Mike nor Sarah could deny despite the chorus of warnings ringing in their ears. Now, he slept by her bed on a thrift store blanket patched with Sarah's old scrubs. Fetched crayons she dropped with jaws that cradled rather than crushed, braced her when her arms wobbled, a guardian where doubt once loomed. Too big for her, Dr. Hayes, their vet, had cautioned at his first exam, peering over his glasses with a frown. Risky with that chair, one wrong move. Neighbors like Mrs. Carter had hissed worse, a German shepherd? With a crippled kid? You're begging for trouble, but Titan proved them wrong. Day by quiet day, his gentleness a rebuke to their fears, his presence a steady pulse in their storm-tossed lives. Tillamook didn't roll out the welcome mat with open arms. Mrs. Carter had marched over the morning after they brought him home, arms crossed tight under her raincoat, her voice sharp as a fishhook over the drizzle. "You're reckless, Mike, that beast with her condition. What's next? A bear?" Her words carried across the muddy yard, drawing eyes from the Lane house next door, curtains twitching with curiosity. Mike stood firm on the porch, Titan calm at Ava's side. His amber eyes steady as he nosed a toy she'd dropped. "He's trained, helps her move, feels safe. Watch him work," Mike said, his voice rough but unyielding. Ava giggled as Titan retrieved the ball, placing it gentle in her lap, and Mrs. Carter's scowl faltered, her lips pursing though she huffed off muttering about lawsuits and fools. Dr. Hayes echoed the skepticism at Titan's checkup. His office thick with the tang of antiseptic and doubt, his gray brows knitting as he prodded Titan's lean frame. High-energy breed, could knock her chair in a heartbeat. "You sure about this? Mitchell's?" Sarah's knuckles whitened on Ava's handles, her breath catching, but Ava's laugh as Titan licked her hand softened the room, a melody against the vet's stern drone. "He's careful, see?" she'd said, her small voice bright, and Hayes scribbled notes, his pen pausing as Titan sat statue still while Ava patted his head, her fingers trembling but sure. At home, his care gnawed their budget, special kibble to rebuild his strength, vet visits to check his healing scars, training gear to hone his instincts, Mike pulling night shifts at the shop. Sarah scouring online forums for deals, selling her old nursing textbooks and Mike's spare wrenches to cover a bag of food. "Maybe we rushed this," she'd whispered one night, bills spilling across the table like a losing poker hand, their edges curling in the damp. Then Ava's giggle rang out, Titan nudging a book she'd dropped, and Sarah's resolve hardened, her voice firm. "He's worth it, for her, he's worth every penny we don't have." The real test crashed in at Ava's first physical therapy session with Titan along, the air at coastal rehab thick with the smell of rubber mats and sweat, the hum of fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Therapist Jen paced wary beside the parallel bars, her clipboard clutched tight, her voice clipped. No distractions, her focus is everything, and that dog's a wild card. Ava stretched her arms. Her small face tight with effort, her wheelchair parked nearby as she gripped the bars. Halfway through, her muscles seized, a familiar jolt of pain twisting her features, her breath hitching in a gasp that echoed off the gym walls. Before Jen could lunge, Titan slid beside her, his frame steady as she clutched his fur, her small hands sinking into his warmth like an anchor in a squall. "Keep going," Ava rasped. Drawing strength from his stillness, her gray eyes fierce as she finished the set without a break for the first time in months, her chest heaving but triumphant. Jen's jaw dropped. Her clipboard forgotten as she stared. "He's no distraction, he's a damn anchor. How'd he know to do that?" Word crept through Tillamook like seaweed on the tide, neighbors peeked over fences as Ava wheeled out with Titan pacing her. Kids at Bayside Elementary whispered about Ava's big dog during recess, their voices carrying over the playground's damp gravel. But trouble brewed too, a shadow under the surface. Mrs. Lane caught Ava tip once in the yard, Titan lunging to brace her, not fast enough to stop a scrape on her elbow, and dialed animal control, her voice shrill over the line. "That beast's a hazard, she fell because of him." Officer Reed rolled up in his mud-splattered cruiser, badge glinting under the gray sky, but Ava, shaky yet fierce, clung to Mike's arm. Her small frame trembling. "He tried to catch me, he's my angel." Reed watched Titan nuzzle her hand, his tail low but wagging, and nodded slow, his pen hovering over his notepad. "Looks trained to me, doing his job, not causing trouble. Tell Mrs. Lane to ease off." Back home, Sarah sank onto the couch that night, Titan sprawled protectively at Ava's feet as she sketched him with a crown. Her crayons scattered like driftwood across the rug. "Maybe they're right, too risky," Sarah murmured, her voice barely audible over the rain's ceaseless drum, her blue eyes tracing the dog's steady form. Ava looked up, gray eyes piercing through the dim light. "Mom, you said the best stuff's scary at first, like my stretches." "He's the best scary ever, he makes me brave." Mike squeezed Sarah's hand. His mechanic's grip firm, calluses rough against her skin. "She's got a point, hon, he's not just a pet, he's her wings, lifting her where we can't reach." Sarah watched Ava drop a crayon. Titan retrieving it with jaws so gentle they barely dented the wax, placing it back in her lap with a nudge, and nodded slow, a crack of light breaking through her fear. "Okay, but we double down. More training, more precautions. He's hers, but we've gotta make it bulletproof, no room for mistakes." At Bayside Elementary, Titan joined Ava twice a week, his blue service vest gleaming under the school's fluorescent lights. A quiet defiance against the stares that followed them down the halls. Tommy Lane, a wiry 8-year-old with a mean streak and a mop of blonde hair, taunted from the playground during recess. Dog Girl, tossing a stick at her chair with a smirk, his buddies snickering behind him. Titan didn't flinch, just stepped between them, calm as granite, his amber eyes steady until the monitor. Mrs. Tate shooed the boys off with a glare and a sharp whistle. Sarah, watching from the pickup in the parking lot, felt her chest tighten, pride, fear, a mother's ache all tangled up in a knot that wouldn't loosen. "He's her armor, we can't lose that, not now." Tillamook's whispers grew jagged, some odd, some sharp as fishhooks snagging flesh. Mike's boss, Pete, grumbled about his late arrivals after night shifts. His voice a growl over the shop's clang of metal. "That dog's eating your focus, Mitchell, shop struggling enough without you dragging in half dead." Sarah faced stares at the Nettitz market. Poor dear, twisting into that mutt's trouble, behind gloved hands clutching crab legs and cheese blocks, their murmurs a low tide of judgment. But Ava bloomed, therapy gains stacking up like cordwood. Her arms steadier, her voice bolder at school, Titan her constant, her North Star guiding her through the fog. Then the axe fell, a letter from Coastal Repairs slipped under the door one sodden evening. Its corporate stamp stark against the pile of unpaid bills on the kitchen table, edges curling in the damp air. Mike read it twice, hands trembling, the words blurring through a haze of exhaustion, due to economic downsizing. Position eliminated, 2 weeks' notice. Sarah stumbled in from the kitchen, clutching Ava's latest insurance denial, another chair cushion rejected as non-essential, sores blooming on Ava's hips from the old one, her blue eyes wide with a panic she couldn't mask. "We're sunk," Mike rasped, his voice a hollow echo over the storm outside, the rain a mocking chorus against the roof. Titan padded over, resting his head in Sarah's lap, his amber eyes steady as she choked out. "Maybe he's gotta go, the refund could cover her pills for a month, maybe 2. Mike's grip tightened on the letter, crumpling it into a ball, his voice rising fierce over the wind. "No, he's her lifeline, not a damn bargaining chip. We'll sell the truck, my granddad's watch, my tools, anything but him. He's family now." The storm howled louder that night. Waves crashing against the cliffs like a warning drumroll, the power flickering as the bungalow groaned under the onslaught. Ava slept with her sketchbook open, Titan crowned in crayon. Flying over waves, her lost chances sketched as stars above a sea of dreams. Mike checked the locks, his flare gun from fishing days back on the shelf, a flicker of dread coiling in his gut, trouble was coming. And he felt it in his bones. Sarah stitched a cut from a bar fight at the free clinic down the street, her mind on Ava's frail hands clutching Titan's fur, the way his presence steadied her daughter's breath. The rain battered on, and Titan lifted his head, ears pricking at a rumble too low for human ears, trouble rolling in with the tide, his past a shadow stretching long and dark, waiting to break loose over their fragile shore. December 2024 tore into Tillamook, Oregon, with a vengeance that rivaled the Pacific's wildest storms, rain hammering the cliffs like cannon fire. Wind clawing at the pines as if to rip the town from its roots and hurl it into the sea. Inside the Mitchell's bungalow, Ava Mitchell sat by her bedroom window, her wheelchair angled to watch the storm's chaos unfold. Chestnut curls damp from a therapy spill that morning, clinging to her pale cheeks. At 6, her gray eyes burned with a grit that defied her frail frame, spinal muscular atrophy a relentless jailer she refused to bow to despite its iron grip on her legs. Her spirit a lighthouse cutting through the dark. Titan, her German shepherd, lay beside her, his amber eyes tracking every twitch of her small hands, his blue service vest scuffed and mud-streaked from months of duty, fetching crayons. Bracing her wobbly arms, guarding her with a devotion that seemed carved into his bones. Mike Mitchell paced the kitchen, his mechanic's hands raw and bleeding from odd jobs, hauling lumber in Newport, running deliveries in Astoria, since Coastal Repairs shuttered, leaving their finances a wreckage strewn across the table, mortgage 3 months late, power flickering from late payments. Titans kibble down to crumbs in a dented tin scavenged from the shop's trash. Sarah sorted Ava's meds with trembling fingers, her nurse's calm fraying as she tallied costs, each pill a lifeline. Each bill a noose tightening around their necks, her blue eyes shadowed with a weariness that sleep couldn't touch. "He's stable," Dr. Hayes had said at Titan's last checkup. Peering at his chart through fogged glasses, "but he needs more than table scraps to keep going, he's leaner than he should be." 3 months with Titan had remade Ava in ways they hadn't dared hope, her therapy gains doubling. Arms holding steady 10 seconds longer when he braced her, her voice cutting through Bayside Elementary's chatter where Tommy Lane's taunts now bounced off her like pebbles on steel. Her confidence a shield forged in his amber gaze. "He's my knight," she'd told her class, unveiling a drawing of Titan with a shield, his eyes sketched fierce and true, a crayon crown perched on his head. Teachers marveled, Mrs. Tate noting her raised hand in lessons, her small voice piping up with answers. Jen, her therapist at Coastal Rehab, charting what she dubbed Titan's effect, Ava standing longer. Pushing harder with him near, her breaths deeper, her smile wider. Tillamook split down the middle, Mrs. Carter, the widow next door, baked cookies after watching Titan retrieve Ava's scarf in the rain-soaked yard. Her voice soft with awe, "He's got an old soul, that one, I misjudged him." Mrs. Lane, across the fence, still spat venom, "That menace'll kill her, mark my words," her calls to animal control a weekly ritual. Her pinched face peering over the hedge like a crow waiting for carrion. Mike and Sarah scraped by, selling his old fishing gear and Sarah's wedding band, pawned with shaking hands, to stretch the budget. Skipping dinners to save scraps for Titan, clinging to him as Ava's spark in a world growing darker by the day. Then pneumonia slammed Ava like a rogue wave, a fever spiking to 103. Lungs rattling like a broken engine, landing her in Tillamook General's ER for 3 nights, a blur of masks and oxygen tubes snaking from her small frame. Titan stayed, whining at her bedside. Alerting a nurse to a breath hitch before monitors blipped, staff bending rules after Dr. Kim snapped, "He's useful, let him be." "Family," Sarah had growled when a nurse balked. Her voice a blade, and he'd remained, a shadow of fur and loyalty, his paw resting gentle on Ava's hand through the rails. Home again, Ava rallied slow, color creeping back to her cheeks. Her laugh faint but returning like a tide inching up the shore, but the cracks in their lives widened to chasms that threatened to swallow them whole. Mike's new gig in Newport, 40 miles south, meant dawn to midnight hauls in his rattling pickup. The coastal highway slick with rain and risk, his eyes bloodshot from sleepless nights and endless roads. Sarah's pleas to insurance for Ava's chair cushion hit another brick wall. Her voice breaking on a call with a faceless clerk, "Non-essential?" "She's got sores blooming on her hips, do something, damn it." Titan's vet bills loomed like storm clouds on the horizon. His coat dulling from cheap food, and one night, Sarah stared at his adoption papers through tears, the Haven's refund clause glaring back like a lifeline she didn't want to grab. "If we let him go," she whispered, voice cracking over the kitchen table's clutter, the wind howling outside like a banshee. Mike cut her off, fierce as a gale, his hands slamming the table. Rattling the vials. "He's not a line item, he's her heart, Sarah. We'll sell the truck first, my granddad's watch, my damn soul, anything but him." Titan patted over, resting his head in her lap. His steady gaze a lifeline as Ava slept, his vigil unbroken despite their unraveling world, his warmth a tether against the storm's pull. The storm's cruel twist struck on a drenched Saturday, Ava drilling in the backyard. Titan bracing her as she stood on the support bars Mike had welded from scrap steel scavenged from the shop's junk pile. The ground, sodden from weeks of unrelenting rain, betrayed them. The bar's anchor shifted, then snapped with a sickening crack that echoed over the wind, metal shearing like a gunshot. Ava fell back, her small body arcing through the air, Titan lunging to catch her. His massive frame a shield, but her head clipped the patio's concrete edge with a sound that froze time, a dull thud swallowed by the deluge, blood blooming dark against the gray stone. "Titan!" Ava's scream pierced the rain as Sarah bolted from the kitchen, her coffee mug shattering on the floor, Mike sprinting from the shed where he'd been patching a leak with tar and curses. The shepherd barked frantic, shielding Ava's still form, his paws slipping in mud as he nosed her face, his whines a desperate plea. "Don't move her!" Sarah yelled, dropping beside her. Nurse's instincts overriding panic as she checked Ava's pulse, weak but there, her chest rising shallow, blood matting her curls. Mike fumbled his phone, dialing 911, voice breaking over the wind's howl. "She's hurt, head, ribs, get here fast, please." Titan pressed against Ava, refusing to budge as sirens wailed closer through the downpour, his amber eyes locked on her, a sentinel in the chaos. Paramedics swarmed the yard, rain streaking their gear, flashlights cutting through the murk, but Titan growled low, hackles up, guarding her until Mike rasped, "Titan, shift." He obeyed, stepping aside but hovering close, his fur plastered with mud and rain, amber eyes tracking her stretcher as they loaded her into the ambulance. "Keep him with us," Lead Medic Tara ordered, her voice sharp over the chaos, clocking his alertness through the storm's blur. "He's fast, might catch something we miss." In the ambulance, Titan pressed against Ava's side, whining urgent as her oxygen dipped, pawing Sarah's leg seconds before alarm screamed, a shrill warning piercing the cab. "Hemothorax, chest tube, now." Tara barked, eyes wide with shock. "That dog's a damn sensor," beat the monitor by half a minute, maybe more. Tillamook General's ER erupted into controlled chaos, doctors stitching Ava's scalp with swift, precise hands. Scanning for bleeds with machines that hummed and clicked, Titan pacing the trauma bay doors despite a nurse's sharp protest, her clipboard trembling. "No dogs in here, hospital rules," she snapped. Arms crossed, but Dr. Kim overruled, cool and firm, her white coat streaked with rain. "He's service, caught her crash before our tech did. He stays, end of story." Hours dragged in the waiting room, Mike and Sarah gripping styrofoam coffee that went cold. Titan's head in her lap, his ears pricked for every sound from beyond the doors, until Dr. Kim emerged, face serious but steady, her voice cutting through the tension. "Concussion. 3 cracked ribs, internal bleeding stopped, he cushioned her spine when he broke her fall. Without him, we'd be talking paralysis, maybe worse, she'd have hit full force." Relief crashed over them like a breaker on the rocks, but hospital admin Paul Vance loomed in the corridor, his suit crisp against the chaos, his voice stern as he adjusted his tie. "Policies clear, no animals in the ward, health risks or not, no exceptions." Mike's rumble cut through, low and dangerous, his hands balling into fists. "He's her lifeline, saved her twice tonight. You pencil-pushing bastard. You gonna argue with that?" Dr. Kim backed him, clipboard in hand, her tone icy. "ADA says he's medical aid, remove him, you're breaking federal law." "Paul, and I'll testify to it." Vance bristled, jaw tight, but Titan's steady gaze held, unyielding as news spread, a nurse's shaky cell video of his oxygen alert rocketing online. Racking up thousands of views in hours, Tillamook buzzing with "Let Titan Stay" signs scrawled in marker and taped to lampposts, shop windows, even the hospital's front doors. Disability advocate Lena Ortiz stormed the city council days later, her voice a thunderclap that shook the chamber. "He's not a pet, he's equipment, as vital as her chair, as her oxygen. You deny him. You deny her care." Hospital brass pushed back, sterile fields trump emotion, period, but Dr. Kim's notes piled high on her desk, Titan's alerts outpacing machines by critical seconds. A living alarm no tech could rival, her data a fortress of proof. Ava stirred awake in the ward 2 days later, her small hand reaching through the glass as Titan nosed it from the hall. Her whisper faint but fierce over the beep of monitors. "Where's Titan?" "Right here, baby," Sarah soothed, stroking her curls, her own tears falling as she pressed her forehead to the window. But Vance's threat hung like smoke, policy or eviction, a guillotine poised to fall. Tillamook fractured, supporters rallied with candles outside the hospital, their flames flickering defiant in the wind. Foes like Mrs. Lane doubled down, "That dog's a lawsuit waiting, should have been put down," and Ava's quiet plea to Sarah cut deeper than the storm's howl, "He's my brave, I need him. Mom, don't let them take him." The rain battered on, waves chewing the shore with relentless teeth, but Titan stood firm, a rock in the flood, his past a shadow about to ignite into flame. That night, Lisa from the Haven arrived, drenched to the bone, clutching a soaked manila file that trembled in her hands. Found his records, he was Jace's, a boy with muscular dystrophy in Idaho. Jace passed 3 years back, his dad dumped Titan at a gas station 300 miles away, left him to die. He walked home, till we found him, paws shredded, half-starved, still searching. Sarah's breath caught, Ava's hand tightening on Titan's paw through the glass, her voice a whisper of awe and tears. He knew me, 'cause of Jace, he's done this before. Mike knelt beside her, his voice rough with wonder. He's a fighter, kiddo, crossed states for Jace, now he's here for you. The fight took on new fire, his history a torch in the dark, a legacy of loyalty that turned their battle into something bigger than Tillamook's rain-soaked streets. July 2025 dawned over Tillamook, Oregon, with a fierce, golden clarity, the Pacific's roar softening to a murmur as summer's sun pierced the fog, bathing the Mitchells' rebuilt porch in light that danced off the bay below. Ava Mitchell, now 7, stood shaky but proud beside her wheelchair, chestnut curls tied with a blue ribbon, Titan's color, her gray eyes alive with a fire that had grown through months of storm, steel, and sacrifice. She tossed a stick into the yard, her small hand trembling but sure, and Titan, her German shepherd, loped after it with a grace honed by recovery, his frame strong again. A faint limp from last fall's scars the only echo of his near-fatal stand. His black and tan coat gleamed under the morning glow, amber eyes sharp and steady, tail wagging like a metronome, a hero remade on the edge of the sea. His presence a testament to battles won. Mike Mitchell leaned on the railing, his mechanic's hand steadier since landing a manager gig at Newport Auto, 40 miles south, his hazel eyes softer than they'd been in years. Lines eased by a stability they'd clawed back from the brink. Sarah charted Ava's therapy from the kitchen table, her nurse's calm restored, her dark hair loose for once as she smiled through the window. A rare peace settling over her sharp blue eyes. Titan's bed sat by the hearth, a thrift store quilt crowned with a blue ribbon pinned above, a badge of their war won, their family whole against all odds. The bungalow a fortress rebuilt from ash and grit. The breaking point had struck 7 months back, a backyard fall that shattered their fragile balance, Ava's support bar snapping under rain-soaked ground. Her head striking concrete as Titan lunged to soften the blow, his body a shield that couldn't stop the blood blooming dark on the stone. The ER chaos followed, his alerts catching a bleed before monitors blipped, sparking a showdown with Tillamook General's rigid rules that stretched into days of tension and defiance. Ava's plea from her hospital bed, "Titan's my team, don't take him," and Dr. Kim's data, he'd outpaced Tech 3 times, documented in stark ink, forced the board's hand, their surrender grudging but final. New protocols rolled out under pressure from a viral storm, nurses' footage of Titan's oxygen alert racking up millions of views. Titan's law rippling through Oregon hospitals, then beyond, welcoming service dogs as medical allies, not risks, a seismic shift born from one girl and her dog. But fate wasn't done testing them. Days after Ava's discharge, a motorcycle roared through their quiet street, Jake Carter, 17, hot-dogging for his buddies on a borrowed bike, veering wild off a curve, tires screaming on wet pavement. Titan shoved Ava's chair clear with a force that sent it spinning, taking the hit himself, hindquarters smashed, blood pooling on asphalt as Ava's scream split the air, a sound that haunted Mike's nightmares for months. Sarah raced out, her nurse's hands steadying Ava as Mike called Dr. Hayes, the vet rushing Titan to surgery, fractured pelvis, internal bleeding, a brutal fight to live that stretched across hours of silence and prayer. Ava sat by his kennel, her voice a lifeline through the haze of sedation, "You promised to stay, Titan, don't leave me," and he pulled through, tail thumping weak at her call. His amber eyes refusing to dim, a warrior clawing back from the edge. Tillamook ignited like a flare in the night, news blaring, service dog hero risks all, vigils lighting the vet clinic with candles that flickered defiant against coastal winds. Jake's mom, Ellen Carter, sobbing apologies as she organized fundraisers for his bills, her guilt a weight she wore like a shroud. Titan's past cracked open then, Lisa from the Haven arriving soaked with a file that rewrote their world. her hands trembling as she spread it across their kitchen table. He was Jace's, trained from a pup for a boy with muscular dystrophy in Idaho. Jace passed 3 years back, his dad. Broken by grief, dumped Titan at a gas station 300 miles away, left him with nothing but a collar and a ghost. He walked home, till we found him, paws shredded to bone, half-starved. Still searching for Jace. Ava hugged him through the kennel bars, tears falling into his fur as she whispered, "You knew me, 'cause of Jace, you've done this before." Mike knelt beside her. His voice rough with wonder, "He's a fighter, kiddo, crossed states for Jace, now he's crossed hell for you." Sarah's breath caught, her nurse's mind piecing together Titan's uncanny instincts, every nudge. Every alert an echo of a love he'd carried across miles and years. His bond with Ava mirrored his first, a purpose doubled across loss, his heart vast enough for 2 miracles, a legacy of loyalty that turned their fight into a beacon. Recovery twinned them, Ava standing longer in therapy, her arms trembling but resolute, Titan limping less in the yard, his gait adjusting to hers, their parallel drills a dance of grit and trust that unfolded under Tillamook's watchful sky. Spring brought her first step, shaky, small, Titan pacing her with a precision born of instinct, her whisper fierce, "For you." He nosed her hand, proud, a partnership forged in fire and blood. Unbreakable. The town shifted slow, then fast, a tide turning under Titan's quiet reign. Mrs. Carter, once a skeptic with a tongue sharp as nettles, baked Titan treats after watching him brace Ava in the rain-soaked yard. Her voice soft with a humility she'd never worn before, "I was wrong, he's her guardian, an old soul in that fur." Tommy Lane, Jake's little brother, joined Ava under the bayside oak at recess. His blonde mop damp as he offered shyly, "Titan's cool, sorry I was a jerk," his stick-throwing days traded for a tentative truce. The Tillamook Tribune ran, "Girl and dog defy odds." Their talent show win, Ava and Titan weaving a routine of trust under the gym's lights, cementing it with blue ribbons for both, the crowd's ovation shaking the rafters, a sound that lingered in Sarah's ears like a hymn. Sarah launched Titan's Pack in their yard, a support group where parents traded tales as kids played, some with braces, some with crutches, Titan weaving through with gentle nudges. Steady for a boy learning to walk, playful for a girl with a prosthetic arm, his amber eyes reading needs no words could voice. Dr. Hayes, awed by Titan's recovery, covered his care. Muttering over his charts, "He's rewriting the book on service dogs, should have died, but he wouldn't quit." Bayside built Titan mentors, Ava teaching classmates about ability. Her voice ringing clear through the classroom, "He sees me, not my chair, sees all of us for who we are." Ellen pushed accessibility talks at City Hall, Ava testifying beside Titan. Her small frame straight as she faced the council, "Help others see too, I'm not just wheels, I'm Ava." Stores hung, "Service dogs welcome," signs in their salt-fogged windows. The haven flooded with adopters clamoring for dogs like Titan, Lisa beaming through tears, "There are spark, look what they've lit up." A year on, August 2025, the Mitchells threw Titan's Day in their backyard, rebuilt with ramps and a therapy course from salvaged wood and donated steel. The air thick with salt and the scent of grilled fish from a neighbor's smoker, a celebration that swelled beyond their wildest dreams. Ava stood, shaky but sure, beside Titan. Her hand buried in his fur as she faced the crowd, Mike, Sarah, Lisa, Ellen, Jake with his head bowed and a check for Titan's fund, Dr. Kim in her white coat, Jen with her clipboard. Kids with blue ribbons pinned to their shirts, even Mrs. Lane, silent at the fence with a tray of cookies she'd never admit baking. "He saved me twice," Ava said, her voice steady. Gray eyes fierce as they swept the faces, "But he taught me I can save myself. Being different's my power, he showed me that, showed us all." Titan sat tall, a medal from Mayor Ortiz glinting on his vest, a bronze paw etched with "Tillamook's hero," his tail wagging as Tillamook cheered. Tears streaking faces, Mrs. Carter clapping with flour-dusted hands, Tommy grinning with a gap-toothed smile, Ellen hugging Jake tight as he whispered, "I'm sorry," his guilt easing under the weight of redemption. From a lost soul trudging 300 miles through dust and despair to a town's beating heart, Titan forged a legacy, Ava his flame, love his steel, proving heroes rise when you fight for them. Their dawn breaking wide over the coast, a light that refused to fade. Lesson from the story. Strength isn't born, it's forged. Ava, a 7-year-old Spitfire in a wheelchair. And Titan, a German shepherd who walked 300 miles through hell, faced storms, crashes, and a town's doubt in Tillamook, proving courage isn't about standing tall, it's about standing up. Again and again. Titan didn't just save Ava from a fall and a rogue bike, he taught her she could rise, shaky, scarred, but unbroken. Together, they turned a coastal backwater's whispers into a roar. Showing that love and grit can shatter limits, heal wounds, and rewrite rules. It's not the body that defines you, it's the fight in your soul, and when you've got a pack, human or hound, that fight can change the world. What's your Titan tale? Ever leaned on someone, or something, to pull you through the dark? Drop your story below, your scars, your wins, your unbreakable bond. Hit that like if Ava's guts or Titan's heart fired you up. And share this epic with your crew, let's spark a movement. Where you tuning in from, West Coast, Heartland, or across the waves? Sound off, we're a harbor town now, and we want to hear your battle cry.